Hi, my name is Anna, and every week I summarize a parenting or self-development book for you to give you the strategies you need to thrive as a family without having to spend your precious time reading a book. And if you are enjoying these videos, please subscribe to my channel, like and comment on these videos. Engagement is what helps promote my work here on YouTube, and I really do appreciate it. Today, I will be discussing The Gifts of Imperfect Parenting by Brene Brown. The book starts with 2 amazing nuggets of wisdom that I will share with you, and then we will deep dive into 10 overarching principles that we should cultivate in our families in order to raise emotionally secure children. The first nugget of wisdom is that who we are as parents is a much more accurate predictor of who our kids will become than what we know or understand about the science of parenting. So in a nutshell, we cannot give to our children what we do not have. The second nugget of wisdom is that parenting is about making the journey with our children. It's about growing and learning alongside them. Now, let's take a look at the 10 overarching principles. And the first one is about cultivating worthiness in our families. Worthiness is about going to bed at night and saying, yes, I was imperfect and I was vulnerable, but it doesn't change the fact that I was brave and I am worthy of love and belonging. Worthiness doesn't have any prerequisites. I will be worthy when I lose weight, when I get this promotion. It is a birthright. So we should be thinking about what prerequisites of worthiness are we willingly or unwillingly passing down to our children. And Brene tells us that the enemy of worthiness is shame. And she goes on to define the difference between shame and guilt. Shame is the belief that we are unworthy of love and belonging. It's the belief that something we have done renders us unlovable. I am bad. Versus guilt, which is actually a healthy emotion, which means I am a great girl, I've made a poor choice. Research has shown a correlation between shame-prone kids who are more likely to attempt suicide, drop out of college, and engage in high-risk activities like drugs and alcohol, versus guilt-prone kids who are more likely to enroll in college, engage in community activities, and lower-risk behaviors. So as parents, our role is to ensure that our kids engage in guilt self-talk rather than shame self-talk. In studying shame and guilt proneness, Brene has found that parenting is one of the strongest predictive variables of whether someone is going to grow up being shame or guilt prone. So it is about how we are talking to our kids, but it is also how we are talking to ourselves, how we are engaging with our own shame. Because if you overhear your child say, I'm so stupid, when they make a mistake, and you go on to explain to him that mistakes are normal and he shouldn't be saying that and he's not stupid, but then later on your kid overhears you saying, I'm such an idiot, when you drop something on the floor, what do you think is going to be more powerful for him? So it's important that we make that journey with them and we pay attention to our own inner self-talk. The second principle is vulnerability. The most profound moments that we share with our children that shape who they are and who we are happen in sharing vulnerability, theirs and ours. Let's talk about their vulnerability first. Our first instinct when we see our children in pain is to fix it, to make it go away. It's instinctual in us. But a much more helpful and compassionate response is empathy. When we give empathy, which is a reflection of someone's thoughts, feeling, and experience, our children feel understood and they can learn this valuable skill too. Our homes should be a safe haven where everyone can take their masks off. Everyone can just show up as they are without pretense. And in this way, parents need to pay a lot of attention to siblings' relationships because siblings are witnesses to their most difficult and vulnerable moments, and they tend to use that against each other. So it is very important for parents to step in and have these conversations with their kids, to lay those ground rules that in this house, we are a safe container and we will not use vulnerabilities against each other. And let's talk about our own vulnerabilities as parents as well. It's very important that we share our personal struggles with our kids because this is how we model vulnerability. And this is also giving your kids the opportunity to show empathy. Often we actually underestimate their ability to show empathy. And we should also remember that they need practice with this. So we shouldn't rob them of that experience. The third principle is about cultivating healthy striving. Brene starts by making the very important distinction between perfectionism and healthy striving. Perfectionism is 100% externally driven. It's about what will people think. And it doesn't drive us to do better and be better. Versus healthy striving, which is internally driven. It's about giving things our best shot, striving for excellence. And the problem is that in families where one or two of the parents are perfectionists, it's extremely contagious. And again, you cannot give to your children what you do not have. So if you do not want to pass that down to your children, you need to work on your own perfectionism tendencies. And how we can do that in our families is about changing what winning looks like. What if winning was about just showing up and giving it our all? Winning is about being scared of doing something and knowing that you're not going to be good at it, but you do it anyway. So it's about fostering this family environment where our worthiness isn't on the table. No matter what we do, our mistakes don't define us. We are still worthy of love and belonging. The fourth principle that we should cultivate is hopefulness. Brene believes that we are creating declining levels of hopefulness in our children because we are intervening too much. We don't let them struggle enough. You need to experience struggle to understand hope. When we don't expose our children to struggle and disappointment, we are robbing them of their hopefulness. Because to know hope, you have to experience struggle. And this is so very important in this culture of instant gratification. Many of us think of hope as an emotion, but it's not. It's thinking. It's a cognitive process. It's our ability to plan B something. And the point is that two of the properties of hopefulness are tenacity and perseverance. There is actually a direct correlation between effort and success. You will truly experience the joy of success if you struggle getting there. So as parents, it's very important for us to let our kids struggle and make mistakes so they can learn how to plan B. We can be there for them on the side, cheering them on and listening to their struggles, but we shouldn't be intervening and fixing everything for them. The fifth principle is about practicing gratitude. Our children are being raised in a culture of privilege. We are raising them with access to so many things at their fingertips, and we are all worried that we are contributing to this culture of entitlement and privilege. But what separates privilege from entitlement is gratitude. The never enough cultural message can change if we practice gratitude for what we have. And one of the easiest ways to practice gratitude in families is to ask everyone to name one thing they are grateful for during family dinner time. The sixth principle is about the importance of setting and maintaining boundaries. We seem to be moving away from parenting toward becoming friends with our kids, and this is very dangerous territory. Kids are hardwired to push and test boundaries, and we often see that as defiance or disrespect, but they are doing exactly what they're supposed to. They are doing their job. And our job as parents is to enforce these boundaries. And this inevitably creates a lot of tension between us and our kids, but we should become comfortable with that because it's a very important experience for our kids to have. Boundaries give kids a sense of security, safety, and feeling cared for. And what allow our kids to grow up into well-adjusted adults are not always going to be things that make them happy in the moment. And a very important point that Brene makes is that children actually learn to hold boundaries for themselves by looking at how we set boundaries. By saying no and sticking to our no, they learn to do the same. The seventh principle is about cultivating creativity. As human beings, we are inherently creative. Brene tells us that there are no such thing as creative and not creative people. There are people who use their creativity and people who don't. Brene defines creativity as something that you cannot do perfectly. It's about exploration, expression, and individuality. All kids around 4th grade go through a creativity slump because they have absorbed this right or wrong way of thinking, this judgmental thinking, and they get defeated if their artwork is not exactly as they'd hoped. So us parents need to help them move through this creativity slump. And we do this by making our families a safe and inviting place for creativity. We need to engage in creativity together. It's very important that we model the fact that we think creativity is important. And we need to show kids that we can get a lot of joy out of making imperfect things. And creativity is not just arts and crafts. We need to expand that definition. It can be music, it can be woodwork, it can be storytelling, baking together, painting a wall in the house together. There are so many ways of being creative. The 8th principle is about the importance of play in families. Play is essential to developing creativity, empathy, trust, boundaries. It's how we grow and exercise our imagination. Brene defines play as time spent without purpose. We don't want it to end. We lose a sense of ourselves. We don't feel inhibited. And she goes on to say that the opposite of play is not work, it's actually depression. And play isn't about playing board games. You need to define what play looks like for your family. The 9th principle is about respect and hard work. We live in a culture of fun, fast, and easy, a culture of instant gratification. And often, because we are rescuing our kids from struggle, we're instilling in them this idea that hard work is not important and not valued. We have lost sight of some of the things that our parents did well, that sometimes things are hard and not fun, but they are important. So when we parents do hard things, instead of just celebrating the wins with them, we need to take them on the journey with us. They need to understand the story behind the accomplishment. Storytelling is very powerful. It's a very important piece to instill respect for hard work in our children. The 10th principle is about cultivating uncoolness in our families. The desire and need to be perceived as relevant and cool is a big part of our culture and forms part of our parenting in destructive ways. This need for being cool is prevalent in schools. Even in kindergarten, kids are altering their behaviors to be perceived as cool. So as parents, our job is to model and get comfortable with uncoolness. How can we create a home where both parents and children feel free to be themselves? How can we have fun and cultivate joy in our families by being silly, lame, uncool, and goofy? That's it for today. Here is a summary of the book so you can take a screenshot on your phone. And if you have enjoyed this video, please leave me a like and please leave me a comment if you have any questions or experiences you'd like to share. Thanks for watching and keep growing!